All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another race video. This is the Merced Criterium. Let's just jump right into this because it's pretty action-packed. So my role on the day with my Tarun teammates, I had Matt and Zach here. We were gonna try to have me sit in and be there at the end, and you're gonna see that that plan fizzles pretty quickly. And why are we ripping it so hard right off the line? It's because they announced a $100 first lap preem, which I honestly thought about going for, but the riders on the right hand side of the road, they totally false started, and then I also got kind of caught up right there, and that was basically my hopes of getting that $100 gone. But that's okay because I knew that this was going to be a fast race and it was probably going to break up. The main feature of this course is this back alley section that I like to call it, and it always has bad pavement, but this year it just was insane. There was like moss growing in the middle of it and gravel, so very spicy. And here we are, you know, not even 2 laps into this race and attacks are already flying, and that Altavelo rider started us off, and the purple rider, that's a Mike's Bikes rider named Sean, and he's a new recruit for them. He's like 19 years old. He's done some pretty impressive things in the junior world, and let me tell y'all, he is a monster. He is super strong, so keep an eye out for him. And I am, just kind of throwing that plan of sitting in out the window. But this is dangerous. You know, Mike's Bikes is the main team in this race. I think they had 5 or 6 guys. And this kid, Sean, is super strong. So he's checking up to see if we have a gap. And then he just starts motoring. And at this point in the race, I'm wishing that I took a little bit more of a warm-up because this hurts. All right, so we are off to the races with this break of 3, and we are all pulling super hard. And I was really struggling early on in this race with this technical section. I didn't really take a race pace warm-up lap, and I paid for that because these first few laps I was really getting gapped off and I was having to close it down in that headwind section. So finally, after I think 3 or 4 laps, I weasel my way to the front and set the pace through this technical section. And that's something I definitely recommend doing. You know, if you're slow through a section, it's actually probably better to lead through that section and slow it down, you know, take it at the pace that you're comfortable with. And obviously I'm not like just noodling through here. I'm trying to keep our gap and work with these guys. So eventually, after 8 or 9 minutes, I look in my rear camera. I look behind myself and I see this group coming up on us. And I originally thought this was the field, but the announcer said this is the break of 7. And I look to my right there, and that's Ryan from Mike's Bikes. And honestly, I was a little bummed to see him because that meant that Mike's had 2, and they were probably going to use that advantage to race more aggressively. Man, I'll be honest with y'all, I was on the limit here. You're gonna see, I'm gonna graze Sean's back tire right there. You can't really tell with the GoPro, but everybody is kind of on the ragged edge here, and that's good because that means that this break of 7 is committed. But at the same time, it's really dangerous to have a gap open up or anything that could put you off the back, because the way that we were motoring, if you let a gap open, it was going to be a huge effort to close that. So we kind of worked well together, and this Altavelo rider, he kind of takes this funky line through here, and bam, I smacked. There was a pothole in that puddle, which I didn't know about, and man, I thought I was going to flat. And unfortunately, that Altavelo rider, he did flat, so our break of 7 is now a break of 6. All right, so we're like just over 20 minutes in, and like I said, everyone's on the limit, and I went to drop back, and I think this is Mark Tucker and Donald, and they were kind of playing this game to try to get people to come through, and this gap opens up. And man, this hurts. I wish this didn't happen because this was like a big bullet to close this down. I'd just taken a pull, and Ryan from Mike's, he looks back and gets on the front and starts turning the screws. And this is just like alarm bells ringing, because if I get dropped from this group, that's our race as a team done. So this is just this big effort to close this down. And luckily, I think they start easing up when they see me getting back on. Oh, that AV rider actually did get back in. I think he flatted maybe again or something. But after, yeah, about like 20 or so minutes of racing, we start seeing the tail end of the main field, and Mike's bike starts getting a little more aggressive. This is Sean taking a flyer. You know, when you have the numbers advantage, you can do things like this. And he's just thinking that if he can get up to that main field, his teammates are just going to jam on it and try to open up the gap. And Ryan obviously isn't going to help us close it down. So this is another dangerous situation, and Mark Tucker jumps on the front, and also Max from Project 74 did a ton of work. Okay, so we get Sean back, and I get a glimpse of the main field, and they're right there. And the reason for that is, one, this is a short lap, and two, I think my teammates and the Mike's guys, they were sitting up, and I didn't really know whether I wanted to catch, because Mike's had more guys in there, but I also had teammates in there. And I think my lizard brain just kind of took over. I was like, get to my teammates, get to safety. So I try to jump across with a little bit of a surge, put these guys under a little bit of pressure, but it doesn't really. And that's Ryan right there. So he, instead of taking a breath like I hope people would do, he basically just attacks right through this group. You saw him just squirm up the right-hand side there, and I took this outside line, and I start getting held up by these guys, and this is not good. So I get him on my teammate Matt's wheel, and I tell him, look, that is the breakaway up there. We got to catch them, because you can see in the distance they actually pull out a gap. So hats off to Ryan and these guys. Man, oh man. Yeah, that's Ryan. He's in the break. I just said it. They were racing so aggressively, and Matt, he knows how dangerous this is, so he starts pulling immediately. So this is the one time in the race that I can remember, at least, that we had a little bit of a lull, and you're gonna see here it's not very long lasting. But I just want to reiterate, so we lapped the field, and now we are off the front again from the field. So pretty aggressive stuff. It's pretty mental. But there goes Mark Tucker along with Sean, and the attacks are going again. Everyone is not satisfied with just sitting in the main field and having my Tarun teammates and also the Mike's Bikes guys lead us out. And here goes Sean again, and I don't know, I feel like he just wasn't even thinking about strategy and just was thinking about smashing, because I don't know if this makes 100% strategy sense, but he was so strong on this day, guys. All right, so we eventually get pulled back by the field, and here we go again. This is Ryan, and the 1-2 continues. And my teammate Zach, what a baller. He comes by and he's like, do we have to worry about him? Because it was hard to keep track of everything. It's kind of confusing when you have these like one lap down and one lap up. Mike's Bikes riders, like who is who? And I say, yeah, we have to worry about him, unfortunately. And this is hilarious because Ryan passes the moto ref right there. And I was hoping that he was going to hold him up a little bit more, because, man, I was hurting. So I make the call with Zach to just let Ryan go, let him dangle out there. I'm hoping that maybe he's going to tire himself out in this wind. And the counterattacks start going, and thank goodness Zach is here, because I really was in a bad spot in this part of the race. You know, the fitness is coming around, but it's not at the point that it needs to be. And I think this is where fitness, you know, gets you. Strategy can only get you so far. You know, fitness is, you're gonna have to come up against it at some point during your racing career, and this is it for me. But Zach is doing a monster job keeping this stitched up, and we're gonna pull Ryan back here, but the 1-2s are gonna keep coming. So Zach pulls until he can't pull anymore, but through this technical section, they let the gap open up to Sean, and he starts rolling like he does. The Mike Spice guys were just first and second through that section, and of course Ryan is just going to let his teammate right away, and this is really dangerous, and Sean gets a good gap, and there goes Ryan bridging up to him, and I think Jeff NorCal Cycling, he gives like a woo, and I'm like, bro, you're lapped. Easy there, Ghost Rider. But yeah, this is super dangerous because obviously if they link up, they're gonna be fully committed to this, and those are probably the two strongest guys in the race. So I instantly start pulling, and I'm just hoping that maybe they're a little bit tired, but these guys are like, they're human motorcycles, they're very strong. So luckily everyone recognizes this and they come through. All right, so we start rotating, and Matt and my teammates, Zach as well. Zach is still there. They're doing their best to pull this back, but these Mike Spikes guys, like, they're sharks. Like, when they smell blood in the water, they go for it. And that was Jeff, who just attacked on the left-hand side. I think one big mistake we made there was just leaving that sheltered side open. And he's a lap down, but he bridges up to Ryan and Sean and gives them like a couple laps of just really hard pulls. And look at that, they're right there. We're holding them so close, but we are all just kind of wasted. We're sped up a little bit, but you can still see them right there, and Jeff's on the front. So that, I don't know, I was messing around with Jeff at the finish line after the race, like, oh, we were catching you guys when you were pulling. But no, that was a really good move. Hats off to them. They know how to race to win, and they each kind of chase their teammates, which shows that that isn't a end all be all rule, but they chase their teammates to put themselves in this really advantageous situation. And we keep them close. This group with me, Max, Mark Tucker, my teammate Matt, and Donald is on the back there. We keep them so close, but eventually I tell my teammate Matt, like, look, we're racing for third here. We just have to accept it. And it's a bummer. I was pretty bummed out because I was feeling, not amazing this race, but I was feeling solid and I was motivated to win. But well done to the Mike Spikes crew. So yeah, that was a pretty decisive moment in the race, but let's just see how the race finishes. All right, so we did our best to pull, and my teammate Matt did a huge amount, but we're coming into Bell Lap, and this is Max Rye from Project 74. He decides to launch it here right off of Matt's wheel, and I am pedaling squares at this point, but I at least have regained enough snap to kind of hold him there. And yeah, this was a tough race, and I think I learned where my fitness is at, which is a really good thing to know. So that's probably the biggest thing that I took away from this, was just I need more fitness. Sean and Ryan were the strongest guys in this race, and I think it showed. And then apart from that, I think the really decisive moment in the race was when Ryan was able to bridge up to that original breakaway of 3 and stack the brakes. So it's very powerful to have a teammate in a breakaway, especially in a situation like this. And yeah, it was fun lapping the field. It's the second or third time doing it. It doesn't happen often. And yeah, I guess you could probably write a book about this race. It was so spicy. So I'm probably gonna post the full video if you want to check it out. And here I am just popping around Max. He really led me out for like that entire last lap. He probably should have pulled off, but he was another person that was just incredibly strong in this race. So I pop off a little sprint here and take third, which bittersweet. Mike Spikes took first and second the week prior to this, and they took first and second in this one. So we have our work cut out for us, but the motivation is high. I am not, deterred, and we're gonna keep working at this. Mike Spikes is really well funded. They're kind of like the Yankees of Northern California bicycle racing. They're like I play like the evil empire from Star Wars, like dun 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 dun, like when I see them walking up. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Check out the full race video for this if you're interested, and I will see you guys in another video really soon.